So we will go ahead and call to order our budget workshops for October 18th, 2022. And looks like we're kicking off with WSU Extension this morning. Jennifer, do you have anything before we get started?
I don't, but I can go ahead and share my screen if you'd like.
Yeah, excellent.
Okay, so here's WSU, they're at the very top. And the only thing that I have to add is that I forgot their phones to include those in the PLR request last time. So those are now included in the 2,341 total. The amount is $1,320. So that's the only thing I wanted to add.
Okay.
If you want to go over their revenue for 2023 is estimated at 14,000, and then their total salaries and benefits are 264,626. Their operating is 109,415 for total expenditures of $374,041. They have 2.5 FTEs. And their PLR requests are $2,341. That includes travel costs and the cell phones.
Okay. Commissioners, any questions for Jennifer before we turn it over to Dan and Lisa?
None for me.
No.
Okay. Dan and Lisa, you want to walk us through things?
Yeah, I appreciate the time. Thank you, commissioners. It's a pretty straightforward budget, and thank you, Jennifer, for helping us navigate all these pieces. The travel costs are just the increase for working across the county. As you know, travel costs have gone up over the past few months, as well as the cell phone usage for the noxious weed program. They use that for data collection as well as safety when they're out and about in the field. Our extension staff don't use cell phones like that. We have our own. But we don't use the county-based cell phone that the noxious weed program does. So pretty straightforward budget. We share costs with WSU. If you're WSU Extension, that's all broken down in the budget as well. So any questions or comments?
And then for me, it looked pretty straightforward when I reviewed it. So
just a quick question. So this includes the increase associated with the new, well, it's not a new position, but our weeds coordinator position includes all the full benefits, and great.
Yeah, and we budgeted for the top tier. And what we will do then is return the dollars back to the general fund, what we're not using for that position.
Great, thank you.
Okay, commissioners, any other questions or comments?
None for me.
Great. Well, I think all this looks pretty straightforward and a lot like maintenance, and so I'm comfortable with approving the increased amount of 2341.
yep, as am I.
I agree.
Okay, perfect.
Great. Well, that was quick and easy. I'll move that over to maintenance.
Excellent.
2,341.
Excellent. Thanks, Dan and Lisa. Great job as always. Appreciate the partnership.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so next we have community development.
Okay. Is Kell on?
I do not see her.
Doesn't look like it. Okay, let's
Okay, I have Kell on the phone. She's trying to get onto the Zoom meeting.
okay. We'll pause for a couple of minutes and let Kell get logged in, and then we'll pick up from there.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
We're on. We're muted. Yeah.
Morning, Kell.
Found the link. My webpage hadn't been refreshed in a while.
Morning, Kell.
Good morning. And Kathy is with me as well.
Morning.
Hi,
Morning,
Kat.
Kathy.
Morning.
But she's staying off screen here.
With my laptop over here.
Excellent. Well, Jen, anything before we turn it over to Kell and Kathy?
We can just go over their revenue and expenditures. They have no PLR requests, but I think they just wanted to kind of go over their operations. So their revenues are estimated at $2,666,374, and their salaries and benefits are estimated at $2,582,653. Their total operating is $605,729 estimated, and their total estimated expenditures are $3,188,382, and they have 23 FTEs at this time. So that is it in a condensed version. So go ahead, Kell and Kathy.
Yeah, good morning. We have a fairly simple budget. I do want to thank the commissioners for the ARPA funds that we'll be receiving in 2023, and we will increase the FTE by 1.5, because we do have a part-time person that will hire them full-time for the scanning project. But otherwise, we are fully staffed at this time. We did decide or that we don't have any additional staffing needs at this point. You're making it difficult.
So, I guess just one question that I would have, so we've started to see maybe a little bit of a lag in terms of revenue through, permits and fees coming through DCD. It just, Kell, you and I have had a little bit of a conversation about kind of maintaining, your staffing if there is a more significant downturn. Can you walk us through what that looks like a little bit? And
yeah. And Kathy and I talk regularly about our budget and the overall economy, locally and globally. And we think that, even if there's, well, not even if, but as there is a downturn, and depending on we don't know how long it will last, but that we know for at least 1 year, our budget is going to, we'll be able to maintain our current staffing level. And that we're not anticipating needing to lay anybody off. I believe a year's time out, we can reevaluate that and where we're at. But even if things slow and permitting goes down, because of the ARPA funding and the scanning project, there's enough work in this office to keep everyone really busy, maybe not doing their exact tasks that they're doing now, but to just prepare for, continuing efficiencies, transitioning away from the paper, getting all of our records in place, and whether they go to archive or we scan and toss, et cetera, so that as the economy picks back up, we're prepared and we're not scrambling like we had in the past, where there were big layoffs in the 08, 09 and through 2010. And then it was slow for a long time. But as things picked up, we weren't staffed. And we saw, and I think a lot of the community can remember of times where permitting turnaround times were really slow because we were lagging in the staffing and stuff. So we want to be cognizant of that and careful, and not to lay off too many people too quickly and then have things turn around and not be prepared. So I think Kathy and I are a really good team together, because we like geeking out about economics, but at different levels. So she stays really close in the kind of the local and the building, and I'm more global macro. And so it's fun, and I think it benefits our budget and our staffing levels.
Great. No, I'm happy to hear that. And it's good to have a plan going in. And one of the challenges, as you all are painfully aware of, after the Great Recession in the 2008, 9, 10, it's taken more than a decade to build back our staffing. And so I think it's really reassuring to me, at least, to hear that there have been some lessons learned that we're able to apply going into the future if there are issues along those lines. So thank you.
Yeah.
Kell, what do you have for open positions at the moment?
We do have one permit tech position that's open, and we are, we were going to fill it. We had a position, and we made an offer that didn't happen. And now we've thought, because we're kind of watching the economy, we're keeping that on hold for now. So it's a position we may fill, but we're going to watch and see what permits do at this point in time. I've talked with our lead, and we've agreed that the 3 permit techs are doing fine right now. So that's the one position that's open, and we're not going to fill it at this time.
Nothing in
Otherwise,
planning,
we're fully staffed.
nothing in planning or anything like that?
Planning, we did fill that position. I have some upcoming possible retirements. There's 2 folks that I don't have anything in writing, but they're talking about retirements in the next months to several months. And so we may have an open position there that we will end up filling. But otherwise, everything's full. Building department is fully staffed now as well.
Thank you.
Yep.
So that brings up succession planning. Can you kind of let us know what your plans are there?
Yeah, so Luke Viscuzzi, that you've all had the opportunity to meet, he took Melissa Paulson's place, and he is coming up to speed pretty quickly. And that gives us 4 permit planners. And Grace Miller, who's been here 36 years, at some point she will get to where she gets to retire. And when that happens, I plan on replacing her position with someone who can work with Michael McSims, who is our subdivision planner and does forest practices as well. He's been here 30 years and is hoping to retire at the end of next year. He has a position where he is the only planner that does that specific work. So it is more important to have someone come on board while he is still here, rather than, leaving and just having someone come on. I really need someone to work with him for, I'm guessing 6 months, to kind of work with him, and then also take over, but have him for questions and all of that. And then him working on archiving his stuff before he leaves. So, and then I'm guessing that, and it will all depend on the economy, but if that happens where Grace Miller's replacement works with Michael and then Michael leaves, I probably would not need to fill that other planner unless the economy goes booms again, and we need someone to do more of the permit planning. And that I'm kind of watching for the Belfair commercial industrial activity, and where that goes. So that's kind of my plan, and I'll just see what happens.
Great, thank you.
Okay, commissioners, any other questions or comments for Kell or Kathy?
Nope.
None for me.
Okay, great. Kell and Kathy, any final words from you before we move on?
Kathy,
I'd like to say I do appreciate this board, county commissioners, and taking the time to understand our department. I'd like to, Kell and I are a great team. And so we're on top of our budget. We communicate regularly on it. Of course, I'll be following it up to the minute through the first quarter of next year, and through next year, preparing for what may happen. So you guys should feel confident in our ability to keep you in the loop.
Absolutely have full confidence in you guys.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner.
Excellent. Very good. Well, thank you both.
Thank you.
All righty. Okay, next up we have the auditor's office. Paddy McGuire, I see you're on with us. Before we kick it over to you, Jennifer, anything to walk through with us before Paddy does his presentation?
Yeah, let's walk through their revenue and expenditures planned for next year. So they have $1,092,250 planned for revenue. They have in their maintenance level salaries and benefits, $1,468,845. In their operating, $403,914. And their total planned expenditures, $1,872,759. That includes 14.5 FTEs. And they have a PLR request for one public records position for $74,035. And then they have extra help, which was a slight increase, $1,140. And I kept that as a PLR because I didn't get any feedback on what the increase was. So that may be a maintenance. I'm not positive on that. But their total PLR requests are $75,175.
Okay. Commissioners, any questions on that?
Not yet.
The public records position, public records retention or the filing of their public records, because that's one department where they actually do all the filing for everything too, or is it across?
So if I can, I'll just do a little overview of our budget request and answer your question, Commissioner, if that works for you. So good morning, Commissioners. Paddy McGuire, Mason County Auditor. This is largely a status quo budget request, and I initially didn't intend to request anything new, given that voters will still have their say about who will be in this job next year. However, given the large number of public records requests that have flooded into the Elections Division in the last 18 months, it is simply not sustainable to have more than half of an FTE devoted solely to fulfilling public records requests among a staff of 3 people in the Elections Division. We've seen a quadrupling of the number of public records requests since 2020 in the Elections Division. There have been national news stories about election deniers like Mike Lindell, the My Pillow guy, instructing his followers to inundate election offices with records requests. This is happening all over the country, not just here, and shows no sign of abating. And I will say, sort of anecdotally, the one thing that auditors meet about weekly is we have a weekly call about public records requests to review what's going on and the new ones that we have received. And I think 4 different counties in Washington State have been sued over elections public records requests, and thankfully Mason County has not been one because we have been incredibly diligent about filling them. And I would also say that this has occupied a good deal of Tim Whitehead's time too, because obviously the requests we are getting are complicated and involve important legal analysis. So what I'm proposing is adding a records and contracts officer to the Elections Division, a range 16 position, to handle the requests and the anticipated contract work as my office moves towards a new expanded vote center. We will need to acquire some new equipment for that vote center, and also next year, our 5-year contract with Clear Ballot, our voting system vendor, expires, and so we'll need to take a look at that and make a decision about what to do. I'm also starting to plan for transition in the office as the long-term deputy Susan Blankenship nears retirement. And I'm happy to answer any questions. Did that answer your question, Commissioner Netherland? Thank you.
Commissioners, any other questions?
Go
ahead, Patty.
I'm not the $1,140 for extra help. I am not certain what that is. I asked my managers to be on at 9:30, and I don't see Marie on yet. I believe that's just a recognition that we have been blowing through our extra help budget, and so this is adjusting it to be closer to reality.
Okay.
And then, on the revenue side, we have seen pretty extraordinary growth in our revenue the last couple of years. As real estate has boomed here, that's good for our recording line, and then as people are buying new vehicles, that's good for licensing. Our estimation on revenue for 2023 is pretty flat. We don't expect that to continue. We're hopeful it's flat and not declining, but it really is completely dependent on who walks in the door, not anything we do.
So commissioners, I see the increase on extra help is, if it's based upon the constant need that, an ongoing need that we're just showing that this is just a realignment. I see that as maintenance. As we've been holding back on all of our FTEs until the end, just a reminder that there is an uptick on those public records for all of us. As you guys remember, we positioned our office to be better strength for that. This one's going to be inundated regardless of who's in there. It's just the way it's going to work from now on. I think it's a prudent thing to consider as we move forward.
And I would also say, in terms of economic planning for the future, with what we expect to be Susie's retirement after the 24 presidential, if it turns out we can't afford or don't need a fourth position, there's going to be a pretty easy way to get back to 3 positions in the elections division when Susie leaves. So, I wouldn't assume that this is moving our staff to 4 positions in elections for all time. There is going to be shortly a pretty easy way to get back to 3 FTE.
But this FTE would be cross modality though, right? Isn't that what you were saying? It could be used for more than just elections, but just public records throughout your whole department.
Correct.
And perhaps be able to switch over when not in need to do things for recording and the like, of which you're always having a hard time fulfilling.
We did add a position, a frontline position, recording and licensing a year ago. So our well-staffed upstairs, and so but on the contract side and on the record side, that's always going to be helpful.
I know for a fact you guys are getting a lot, because that person that receives them is sitting right outside my door typically. So I know that, the entire county is getting hit hard with public records requests, but I think we're holding off on committing to FTEs until we get closer to the end. But as far as the 1140 goes, I see that as maintenance also.
We are very good customers of Mr. DeHart's, I will say.
Yes, you are.
Okay, yeah, so I'll just repeat what you've heard twice already. FTEs later on in the process, but certainly supportive of the extra help increase heading into next year.
Excellent.
So we'll move the 1140 to maintenance then, and hold off on the FTE, just like all the other FTEs that we've heard about so far.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. Any other questions? Anything else you want to talk about? If not, I'll hop off.
I have nothing. Thanks, Patty.
Thanks, commissioners.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're a little ahead of schedule here.
And if you don't mind, just a comment.
Yeah.
Doesn't it feel wonderful to have people putting in requests of what's actually needed instead of what we had done for so many years of putting in, how was it put? All the things that they think they should have and should ask for in their department instead of what they knew they were going to be able to get and work within the parameters. It's been a wonderful experience so far this year. I just wanted to say that because I'm actually sitting here appreciating the heck out of it, as my job for being able to look at money and see where to put it has become so much easier.
Yeah, I do appreciate all of our departments and their, I know it feels good this year. That's for sure. Even last year was pretty good.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. Great work by Jen, working with all the other offices and putting things together on the front end of things as well. I think that makes a huge difference for us.
Absolutely.
I appreciate that. It's been a good year. Every year we make improvements. So yeah, this has definitely been a great year for the budget.
Jen, as we update these, if you wouldn't mind sending me your main page here when it's been updated to show that things have been moved into maintenance, what there is left for the PLRs. As you update, if you wouldn't mind sending me one so that I have it in my hand also.
Yes, I will do that. I'll send that to all of you when we're done. I actually finished updating this morning, which is why I didn't send it out before the meeting.
And as you already know, as past practice, we're going to ask for a roll up at the end of this anyway, also.
And if it's easier for you, Jen, you can just add that to my, the file that I have that you've created for me.
Okay. Yeah, I'll add it to each of your files online, and then I will also give you a paper copy, Commissioner Netherland.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Excellent. Well, do we want to pause and see if we can get Loretta and team on a few minutes early? I think it looked like Mark was reaching for his phone, so thinking maybe he's buzzing up there. So let's just take a quick break and see if we can't get Public Works underway sooner.
Okay.
Morning, Loretta.
Good morning.
Thanks for being flexible with us.
No problem.
We are a model of efficiency this morning in our budget workshops.
That
Actually,
sounds
the departments are models of efficiency because they've made it much easier on us. So, commissioners, are you ready? Loretta, are you ready? Do you have everybody that you need?
Yep. We
Okay,
do.
perfect.
We'll do our best to keep up with the model of efficiency.
Yeah,
You've set the tone.
yeah. Well, I just got to get out there in front, you know.
Perfect.
Okay, Jennifer, do you want to kick us off, and then we'll have Loretta walk us through the public works budget.
Sure. Beginning with the County Road Fund 105, they have an estimated beginning fund balance of $10,932,002, and their estimated revenues are $20,110,513. They have estimated salaries and benefits of $6,576,292, and their ending or their total operating is $14,195,518. Their ending fund balance $8,079,081 for total expenditures estimated at $28,850,891, and they have 60.8 FTEs in roads. And did you want to talk about roads first and then move on to the others, or do you want me to do a little summary of all of their funds, or maybe just ER&R?
I don't have a preference. I think whatever works best for you and Loretta is fine with me. Commissioners, do you have a preference?
No, agreed.
Okay.
Jen, if you wouldn't mind just doing a summary of all the funds.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. So the next one is Paths and Trails. This one has an estimated beginning fund balance of $296,523, estimated revenues of $9,707, and total operating is $2,047, which consists of just the SAO and internal allocation, I believe. So they have no estimated or nothing planned to expend in there per se on operating type things. And they have total ending fund balance of $304,183, total expenditures estimated at $306,230, and there's no FTEs in that department. Moving down to the Skokomish Flood Zone 192. They have an estimated beginning fund balance of $110,000, estimated revenues of $6,897,203, and operating estimated at $6,914,198, and ending fund balance estimated at $93,005 for a total budget of $7,007,203. Going down to all of the utility funds. So we have landfill. Beginning fund balance is estimated at $1,565,926. Total revenues estimated at $6,976,147. Total salaries and benefits estimated at $1,051,445. Total operating is estimated at $4,944,401, and ending fund balance is estimated at $1,842,902 for total expenditures of $7,838,748. And you'll see that these funds are out of balance, and that's because they have open PLRs, which we'll be going over later on. North Bay Sewer Utility. Do you want me to go through all of the beginning, or just go through the revenue and the expenditures? Is this too much information?
I don't think it. I mean, we got to get through it one way or another. So.
Okay, I feel like I'm just rattling off numbers and losing everyone. So.
No, not you haven't lost me yet. I appreciate it.
Okay, great. Thank you. Beginning fund balance for North Bay Sewer Utility is estimated at $1,855,179. Total revenues coming in for 23 are $2,337,004. Total salaries and benefits are estimated at $651,525. Total operating $1,205,274. Ending fund balance estimated at $1,947,287. And then total expenditures at this point, $3,804,086. They have 6.03 FTEs and in landfill 12.35. And these are all split out because there's lots of different allocations of FTEs. A portion of the administrative staff is charged to the landfill, and then same with all of the other utility funds, and their operating staff in the utility funds are spread out between all the different utilities. So that's the reason for the odd number of FTEs in there. Russellwood Sewer and Water estimated beginning fund balance is $200,000, and we will go over that later on because I think that's too high. I think it's going to come in probably much lower than that. Revenues are estimated at $514,560. Their total salaries and benefits are estimated at $226,755. Total operating $435,337. Ending fund balance is estimated at $34,615. So you can see their fund is most likely going to end in the negative, I would say, for next year if things go as planned and we don't have this 200,000 come in. So we can look at doing a rate transfer there. Mark has a question or a comment.
Just a quick comment. So for the public and the commissioners, the numbers that are presented within the revenue, the first revenue column, represent the estimated revenue that we think that we're going to receive in 2023. And the salaries and benefits and the operating costs are the costs that we expect to incur. So when you look at this scenario, we see salaries and benefits and operating costs totaling about $662,000. And when we compare that to our revenue of 514, obviously there's a disparity there of 140 some thousand bucks. So it's kind of difficult to see within this because we're required to add beginning fund balance and an estimated ending fund balance in order to balance revenues and expenditures within the budgetary process. But I think the things that I tend to focus on is how much do we think we're going to collect in 2023 and how much do we think we're going to spend. And when we see a disparity like this, then I think it warrants additional insight into what's going on within that utility. Why are we planning on spending more than we're bringing in? And is that just a one-time thing associated with some upgrades or some projects that we need to get done in 2023? And then we can weather that storm with the fund balance that we have to cover it? Or is this something that really requires a more long-term solution? That's all I had, Jen.
Yeah, and this is definitely nothing that's new with this fund. I mean, we have the water meters that are put in, but I believe they need to be made operational to help, and then the rates need to be
set rates. Yep.
And I'm sure Loretta will talk about that at a later point. So thank you, Mark, for bringing that up. For Beards Cove water, this one is in a little bit better financial shape. So they have an estimated beginning fund balance of $608,815, estimated revenues coming in of $355,264. Their salaries and benefits are estimated at $98,577. Total operating estimated at $225,578. And ending fund balance estimated at $632,156. total expenditures at this point, 956,311, and they have 0.91 FTEs. The Belfair Wastewater and Water Reclamation Fund has an estimated beginning fund balance of 3,495,262. Total estimated revenues of $3,707,003. Total salaries and benefits, $278,878. Total operating, $6,842,676, and estimated ending fund balance of $57,350. For total expenditures at this point, $7,178,904, and they have 2.56 FTEs. The landfill reserve has an estimated beginning fund balance of $439,623, with $700 coming in from interest income. They have total operating expenditures of $300,950 planned, and then ending fund balance $139,373. And their budget is actually in balance. They have no PLRs, so their total expenditures are $440,323. The Beards Cove Reserve and also the storm drain system development. I brought this up at the audit committee, and first with Public Works, we talked about consolidating these two funds into their respective home funds, if you want to call it that. The Beards Cove Reserve is really an unnecessary fund created that could be just a reserve line within the Beards Cove fund. So I would like to propose that we consolidate this Fund 429 into Fund 412 during the 2023 budget process. And the same with storm drain system development. It was created originally using a grant from Department of Ecology, and that grant was fully utilized and expended, and then roads put in grant matching funds. And so we would like to consolidate this fund back into the Road Fund 105 during the 2023 budget process. And it has, for the Beards Cove, they have a total of $233,997 in planned revenues and expenditures. And then storm drain has $178,749 in resources and uses as well. So moving on, they have just the equipment rental and revolving fund. They have total beginning fund balance planned at $3,654,402. Total revenues at $2,129,362. They have total salaries and benefits planned at $797,176. Total operating expenditures, $2,068,773, and an estimated ending fund balance of $2,272,815 for total expenditures, $5,138,764, and they have 7.55 FTEs. And that's all of the Public Works funds that we have. So question, oh yeah, you're welcome. And questions or comments, commissioners, or did you want to turn it over to Loretta at this time?
Nothing yet.
Okay.
Yep, same.
Jen, may I share screen?
Yes, I'll stop my share.
Thank you. Okay, commissioners. So first I would like to walk through the open PLRs, and rather than go fund by fund, I thought it might be a little bit easier to talk through them by topic and then break them out by fund. So the first PLR is the training for the department. And In Fund 105, Road Fund, we have around $6,130, and that is primarily for maintaining licensure, our Jpro attendance, purchasing and contracting training. In our Solid Waste Fund, we have $4,000, and that's for HAZWOPER supervisory training, other training for maintaining certificates. In the utility funds, we have $2,000 in North Bay, $200 in Russellwood, water and sewer, and let's see, $500 in Beards Cove, and $1,516 in Belfair Sewer. And these are all trainings primarily associated with maintaining the combined sewer utility operator licensing. Are there any questions, commissioners, about the training PLR request?
No.
Okay. And then moving on to ER&R, we had our outside CPA take a look at ER&R rates and what the rates should be for 2023 and any capital recoup that needs to happen. And based on that, you see the rates that are before you. In Fund 105, we have approximately 1.45 million for the road fund. And then you also see off to the right there, an amount of 1.179 roughly for capital recoup for prior year's purchases. In Fund 402, we have 99,325 for our solid waste ER&R rate. For North Bay Sewer, 57,097. For Russellwood, 17,653. And Beards Cove, 7268. Belfair, 21,801. And I'd like to note that the utility funds include the ER&R rate, and also we are proposing to purchase a new F-150, which is just a little under $50,000, including the upfit and the sales tax. Are there questions about, oh, and then just of note, so the budget currently includes in Fund 105 the 1.45 million, but does not include the 1.179 capital recoup. And so I'd like to come back and have a little further discussion on that item after we get through these PLRs, if that's agreeable with commissioners. Are there questions about the ER&R rates?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay. All right. The facility improvements is the next PLR. And in the road fund, we have $443,000 in land, and that is associated with the necessary right-of-way and easements for our construction program. We are also proposing around, well, $262,776, and that is for improvements to the conference room audio-visual system. We still have outstanding HVAC work to complete, and we have requested about $20,000 in grounds improvements at the facility. For Fund 402, we have $100,000 to make improvements to reconstruct the tipping floor at the solid waste facility. If you've been out there, you can see we've had some temporary patching there where our road crew's been great in assisting us on the temporary basis, but basically that floor needs to be rebuilt. In Fund 403, we are requesting, this is North Bay Sewer, $329,000, and that is to prepare a general sewer plan update, and approximately $20-some thousand just for incidental minor facility improvements. Any questions about the facility improvements, commissioners? Okay, moving on to the capital machinery and equipment. In the solid waste fund, we are requesting $250,000. And that is for the yard goat purchases and improvements to the household hazardous waste building. Moving on
Loretta.
to, oh, yes.
Sorry, can you, without me going back to our ARPA forms, can you just refresh the breakdown between the yard goats and the facility improvements?
Yes, and I think I might have plugged the wrong number in there, actually. Was it $500,000, Richard? 250, 250?
250 was ARPA, that's just yard goats.
Right.
And I think, yeah, there was some other 250 for that is not ARPA.
Yeah, my apologies, commissioners. That is a $500,000 total, and it's 250 yard goats and 250 hazardous waste improvements. And the 250 matches the ARPA allocation, Commissioner Schutte.
Okay.
All right, and then trackables in the road fund, we are requesting $26,500. And that is for purchasing filing cabinets and a new binding machine. The cabinets that we currently store are permanent records, our bridge records are, they kind of work sometimes, kind of don't. And we don't want our permanent bridge records inaccessible. So it's time to look at a new storage system for those. And that is what we have for PLRs. And then just a couple of other notes. Our FTE count is no change overall throughout the department. We have, Richard and Kevin have taken a closer look at a solid waste position. A couple weeks ago or so, commissioners, we were talking about challenges we've had with backfilling vacations and sick leave, and also the desire to increase the level of service or days open for the community at our different transfer stations. And based on that, Richard and Kevin feel that between the increase in our volumes and increased demands, that we could bring forward and justify a new position request. Another note regarding utility rates. Mark touched on this a little bit earlier, and Jan as well, about the need to take a look at our utility rates. And that is a piece of work that we have hired an outside CPA to help us with. And they are not quite 100%, but have been working through developing rate recommendations. So we plan to bring those forward to you early in the year, commissioners. Right now, the budget assumes no rate increase other than the traditional CPI that is planned to go into effect January 1. As you know, that CPI is looking pretty.
Based off the April.
Yeah.
9.1.
Yeah, Richard's saying April to April is 9.1. So something we may want to consider is possibly freezing the CPI January 1 to the current rate, and then take a look at what the overall rate recommendations are once our CPA has completed their work. So something to think about there. And then the last item, commissioners, is the conversation about what to do with this 1.179 million in capital recoup and how to bring the road fund into balance.
Loretta, I'm looking at your ending fund balances and trying to square them up in my head a little bit. Right now, I see an uncollected revenue amount as of our September 2022 monthly financials of $9,629,000. It's lacking behind our normal benchmark.
Are we? I'm sorry, Commissioner. Road fund, is that what we're discussing? Yes. Okay.
And it's lacking behind our normal benchmark. How much of that are you actually expecting to get in? Is there a holdup for that coming in because we are short in any way, sense, or form? Is this still going to come in? Is that going to have a greater effect on our ending fund balance than it's showing?
The ending fund balance and our projected beginning fund balances have been updated based on what we were actually constructing. And yes, we do plan to collect the revenue.
Okay, so you think the full 9.629 million will be coming in by the end of the year?
I believe so, Commissioner. I'd have to pull up my
and you have an expected
fund balance
expenditure in the same amount, or?
Correct. Bear with me while I'm pulling up our fund balance projection. While I'm doing that, are there any other questions, commissioners? While I'm hunting around here.
I guess maybe just a comment on some of the facility improvements. I know that there's been some discussion, heading into the 2023 legislative session about some project funding requests that we might have. And I think when you look at projects like the tipping floor or the household hazardous waste facility improvements, I think those would be ripe for a capital budget request, similar to what we did last year with Russell Wood. So just wanted to make that comment as well.
Okay. So Commissioner Netherland, we were estimating expending 12.6 million. Let's see, this was on 6/30 for the remainder of the year and bringing in 10.47. Jan, is that jiving with what you're looking at?
I'm sorry, I was reading an email.
Oh,
Sorry, Loretta.
that's okay. The road fund, fund balance calculation.
Let me pull up, I have the one that I have not in you, but in the budget.
I'm also backing that up, Jen, just so you know, off of your monthly financial for September.
Okay. Do you want me to share my screen, Loretta?
Yeah, let me stop.
Okay,
Thank you.
of course. Thank you. Okay, so this is the one that was put into the preliminary budget, and so it has our cash and investments at June 30th, 12,745,000, and then we take the estimated remaining revenue was 11,245,000, based on some adjustments that were made by Public Works for different things that were coming in or were not coming in as revenue, and then expenditure adjustments as well. So we're estimating expending out 13 million for the second half of the year to bring us to the 10,932,000. So Loretta, I'll let you speak to any of the adjustments made here.
Yeah, primarily it was taking a closer look at what we would actually construct this summer and what would be rolled over into 23, both on the revenue and expenditure side.
Talk to me, if you don't mind, the unrealized revenue federal funds.
Let's see.
Shelton Springs, OBH, and Harstein.
Oh, these are projects that we did not construct. So Harstein Island, we had planned to do this year, and that will be constructed in 23, mainly because of weather and delays in getting approval through local programs. Old Belfair Highway, same, waiting for approvals through local programs. And Shelton Springs, we had thrown in as a project just in the event that the city of Shelton did not obligate their STP funds. We wanted to have a backup so we didn't have any penalties, if you will, and lose our STP funds. And they did obligate, so we are not constructing that project.
Was there matching funds that were expected from us at all in that? And were they showing on the expenditures?
So on the expenditure side, that would be in the CRP contract costs. A portion of that, Commissioner.
Oh, a
And
portion.
probably, yeah.
I was gonna say that
probably allocated amongst that. I don't think there was anything in right of way. And some labor and PE.
Later on, if you wouldn't mind finding out and sharing with me what our matching was on these things and which matchings were not coming in or were not being expended based on what we did not do.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, typically, Mike's over here, typically they're 13.5% for those projects. Harstein Island was actually 100% grant funded. OBH and Shelton Springs would have been 13.5%.
That's good enough for me. That's what I need. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Did you want to go back to your spreadsheet, Loretta?
Sure. Let's see.
Jennifer, when it's all over, could you simplify the asks for us, please, so we can go down the line and which ones are.
Yeah.
It's hard to read it on the presentation that has been given to us here in front of us for just doing a roll up.
Okay.
So in that case, Commissioner, are you asking to just look at the budget itself and then the PLR, or?
Yeah, Jennifer.
So go through by fund?
Yeah, Jennifer will go through it and we look at the different things and help to decide which ones are maintenance first and foremost, and what to do with them as an individual.
Okay.
I can pull that up now if that would be
Sure.
more helpful.
Yep.
At this point, okay.
All right, Commissioner Trask, what'd you do? I hear all the ambulances or the cops and stuff out here.
No, I think they're going to your window.
Oh, they are actually.
Yikes.
Okay, so here is the PLR spreadsheet. We have roads, beginning with roads, we have 2,191,624, and that consists of the rates, the 1,453,218. We have the training 6,130, the trackables 26,500, and then the building and land improvements 705,776 for the 2.191.
Thank you. Let's, if you don't mind, you can stop there for a minute. Give me one more quick roll up on the building and land improvements, what that included.
So the building and land improvements included 443,000 that is necessary for our construction program. So right of way, basically.
Yep, okay.
And then we have 776,000 for improvements to the conference room, audio visual.
Yeah, how much was that again? I'm sorry,
HVAC. I'm sorry.
How much was that again? That amount?
262,776.
Thank you.
So that's for HVAC, ground improvements, and conference room audio visual upgrades.
Now the HVAC is a failing. Is this still the ongoing issue with not being able to separate?
Yeah, it is.
Is this going to actually fix it?
Yes. Come heck or high water.
Isn't that asked for in the budget every year?
It is. That's why I say
Well-
we've been dealing with this for as long as I've been here.
Yeah, I know. It's currently working on a workaround. It's operating on a workaround at this point.
Okay.
I do have to say, in my office, when I was up there, I would cook.
Yeah. And in terms of the AV upgrades, it would simply make it more user friendly for folks. If you've ever used our conference room and tried to connect and use the screen, you have to have your own little toolkit of adaptations. And even though we have our own toolkit, it's very frustrating for presenters to figure out how to plug in and communicate. And so the whole point of this is to make life much easier for folks that are using our conference room.
Okay. Simplification of trackable tools again.
The trackables, let's see, what did we have on the trackables? For 105. Oh, the filing cabinets and the binding machine.
Okay. And travel and training stuff. Okay, so one last push on the R&R rates, what you're looking for from us.
Yeah, so the ER&R rates, what we have in there is our basic rate, but then post budget submittal, our CPA had identified also on top of that, about 1.179 million that is needed to recoup prior capital purchases.
And
So,
Loretta, you had
I'm
sent
sorry.
that to me
yeah,
last
Jen.
week, but I have not had a chance to go through and analyze that and make sure that that I'm in agreement with that. So I would like to do that, commissioners, before we make any final decisions on
Well,
that.
I agree, and I'd like to see why what the CPA is saying. Is it an expenditure that we had already agreed that we wanted to do out of it? Is it something that says that we have to have a specific reserve? I'd like to get a breakdown on that. So
Yeah.
commissioners, I'm ready to go forward on this other part, to tell you where I'm standing on it. The trackable tools and the training are absolutely, in my opinion, maintenance. The building, land and improvement, I don't know that it's maintenance as much as what's necessary, that has to be done year after year after year, but it's maintenance as in actual maintenance.
Right, and hopefully this time it'll just be a one-time expense.
It won't. It can't. After 10 years, I just have to admit it won't.
10 years. I think it's only been 2.
No, we've been bringing this
It
part
just
back.
feels like 10.
It's been broken for years.
It's dog years.
Yeah. But so I guess I would be, because I don't see anything that could be cut out of building and land improvements with how it was described. So if it's not something that can be removed, I think that it just goes underneath maintenance. So unless there's a different number somebody's thinking, but that's where I'm at, commissioners.
So it's just so I'm understanding correctly. So maintenance for the travel and training,
Yes,
maintenance for the trackable tools,
yes.
and then maintenance for the full 705.
Unless somebody can give a better number, I would love to see a lesser number, but I don't know how we can do it with how it was explained.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with that.
Yeah, so am I.
Okay.
So then we'll just wait on the ER&R rates. And I'll come back with that.
Yeah, and I appreciate that, Jen. Taking a look at what the fund balance is on ER&R, it just seems that something's out of whack.
Yeah.
So
That
we
sure
do
is a
need-
huge number.
We
That
do
changes-
need
that
a
changes
deeper
the whole
dig.
budget. That changes the whole budget.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
So Jen, did you understand all my questions on that R&R rate?
Yeah, because I have the same questions about the beginning fund balance. And I think the ER&R budget, it looked like it was just kind of carried over from last year. And then I made some adjustments for the rates that are in the PLRs so that they match
Yeah.
back and forth. But yeah, the beginning fund balance, I'll definitely analyze that more and come back with that at the same time as the rates.
And as we're calling it rates, are we looking at any portion of that to be a one-time expenditure to get it up to a specific level that's being requested by the CPA? I'm just wondering, because I haven't seen what the CPA is asking for. Are they asking for a specific balance or something in the form of a reserve or something, and that this would get us up? Or is this a continual every single year from now on, an increase of this amount in the ER&R rates?
No, there is adequate reserve in ER&R. So this is not to bring it up to a minimum reserve rate, Commissioner.
So this is an increase year over year from now on.
No, this is just a one-time recoup of 2 years ago's prior equipment purchases.
Okay, so it's not a rate.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I apologize. We've always lumped it into describing
I
as
get it. I'm not near as afraid when I see 1.453
Yeah.
and increase in rates as I am as a one-time.
Yeah, it's just a one-time recoup.
Yeah, and that's what I wanted to check on, because normally in those rates, when I'm doing them, I'm looking at setting the fund balance at around $3 million
Right.
and looking at recouping most of that capital within the rate for that year. So I want to make sure that that wasn't done already, and I don't remember off the top of my head. So I'll go back and look at that and get back to you.
Thank you.
And that's what they're saying exactly, Jan, is that this is something that has not been recouped from prior years.
Okay.
Yeah. But again, it doesn't jive with what we're looking at on ER&R fund balance, which is quite high.
Yeah, the goal of the fund is to breaking even being that having $3 million revolving every
And
month.
therein lies all my concern with everything we've been talking about. So.
Yep, we're all on the same page on that, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Okay, so so that's it with roads. We have nothing for paths and trails. Moving on, we have nothing for Skoke. And that brings us down to the landfill. I was just making sure those funds were in balance. I couldn't remember. So landfill, we have $703,325. That includes the rates, the ER&R rates, $99,325. And in the ER&R rates, Loretta, is that 50,000 included in there for that new?
It is.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's distributed across all the utility funds, Jan.
Okay.
So we don't know what we're going to do on that then for a while.
No, this one we're good on. I feel.
Yeah, I mean, we would just need commission approval to purchase the $50,000 truck.
No, I meant the ER&R rates.
Yeah.
Is that part of this overall, or that it's been broken down into individual departments? Or is this a different ER&R rate change?
So is it catch up, or are we catching up from 2 years ago, or is this what we expect to pay every year?
This is what we expect to pay every year.
Well, kind of,
-50.
but we're looking at 21, and then we're making any adjustments if needed to account for 23. So, you know, we're recouping 21's costs and then looking at our budget to, you know, our ER&R budget to make sure we're covering everything in ER&R, and then any purchases that we plan to purchase should be included in that amount as well.
Okay, so if we agree with the ER&R rate, we also, that rate includes facility improvement and capital machinery improvement. Is that what you're saying? Broke down? Or is this still based on what we're doing for the years past? Because you said that you include all of it, including future or current expenditures that we think we're going to expend.
That's the way that I would do it, is look at what happened in the past, make sure we're recouping that cost, look at what's planned, and make sure we're able to cover that in our rate with the cash that we're going to bring in. Does that make sense?
Yeah, does that 99,000, that 100,000 apply towards the capital machinery? If we say no on the capital machinery, does it affect the ER&R rate?
Yes, it would affect the ER&R rate, and it would be a lower rate.
Okay, that's what I was asking. So now for myself, I do believe that as a commission, we've already gone over the machinery and equipment, and we've been telling them to go forward with that. If I'm not misunderstanding that, the same with the facility improvements, I think we've already directed them to do these things, so we have to pay for it. Am I, Commissioner Schutte, do you remember it the same way, or?
No, not exactly. That doesn't mean that it didn't happen. I just, when do you think we did that?
I thought we've been having discussions on the flooring and everything we needed to do for the last several years. And we've been telling them to move forward in that direction. We did not actually have a vote to say we're buying this, but I think we've been telling them to do this.
I mean, I certainly agree that it's a priority, you know, for the landfill. So I definitely agree with that. So.
And
Yeah,
I would move that to maintenance for myself. I think it'd be maintenance if that's what we believe. If we think it's still something that needs to be discussed and knocked out, then we don't want to move it to maintenance.
Now, does that include the capital machinery and equipment?
Yeah, that's the main one I'm talking about. Oh, same thing with the facility improvement. We've been telling them to move forward on these. That's what I've been remembering from our meetings over the last 2 years.
Yeah, so part of that will be a transfer from ARPA that I'll add in to that budget, and also this one. So it'll be a transfer out, transfer in. And then we can, or we can just expend it out of ARPA, but then it doesn't give you the full picture of what's happening in Fund 402. So we can, Mark, you and I can talk about that later and come back with a recommendation on that. But anyway, that'll be 250,000 as part of that capital machinery and equipment. And then the other 250 is for the hazard and waste improvements.
Household, yes.
Okay, so we'll increase that, and the facility improvements and the training, those are all maintenance level.
I believe they are.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Okay, and the ER&R rates I'll come back with next week.
Boy, commissioners, it feels good to be taking care of these trainings, doesn't it? To me, it does.
Mm-hmm.
We went through so many times where we couldn't do it. Now we've been able to do it more and more and more because the money we have in the bank. I think it's good for everybody.
I think it's good for the entire county.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, so that takes care of the landfill for now. Then we have North Bay sewer utility. We have the ER&R rates again, $57,097, and then the training $2,000, and facility improvements $329,000.
Give me the facility improvement again, please.
A general sewer plan update for North Bay, which is
that's
long overdue.
No, and that's on our ARPA
1998.
stuff also, right? So again, this is something we have not officially done an action on, but we've told them to move forward with, because we haven't voted on the ARPA thing yet. So again, I think it's maintenance. Matter of fact, I'm just going to simplify it for myself. Going down the next few lines down to Belford wastewater, I think it's all maintenance, with the caveat that we come back with ER&R rates next week. That's where I'm at.
Yep, I'd agree with that.
Yeah, I do as well. Just want to be clear. I'm looking at the ARPA sheet. We didn't commit funding for ARPA to the general sewer plan update.
Oh, we didn't? I know that was one. Sorry, I thought that was one of my top priorities. So
yeah, I don't think
we did 250 to that.
Yeah, I think we. I'm looking at what we have here, and I don't see it. But I think we need to figure out a way to do it. So you know, I would be supportive of it, but it's not on the ARPA list.
So do you want to wait and hold that piece back till the end for the PLRs?
North Bay is doing all right revenue wise, so we can afford funding it out of the utility.
Yeah, I think if you all are comfortable with that, I would be fine approving that now. I think that's a really critical piece.
I am. I think it's very critical. We got a lot of growth.
Absolutely. Yeah. And commissioners, just keep in mind that North Bay, we paid off one of our loans this year to the tune of $188,000. We've been making loan payments. So right there, we're up $188,000.
And I want to throw out there that right now, you know, in our 6-year plan, and we have money segregated out to do Razor Road. If that becomes a reality, that's going to be a big construction area. And we have to have that plan because that's where they would probably hook up. They're not going to take it to Belfair.
I think it's important that we do it.
Yeah, so I'm good moving that over and funding that request. It sounds like there's consensus in the commission on moving that over too. So, and then
What
I'm
about the rest
comfortable-
of them down to Belfair?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think when we're looking at the training costs, I mean, those are really low, but I think we get a great return on investment there. And then we'll revisit the ER and R rates once there's been some more discussion at the staff level.
Now, just know everybody, although we're so easy on training this year, we're going to watch that and what you bring forward next year because it was so easy. Just to make sure, keep an eye on you.
Make sure you're getting an ROI.
Yeah, we've been so easy on it, but they had no idea we were going to be easy. So I know everything they're asking for is a bare bones. I can't, I'm just glad that we can do it. Again, as I said earlier, we should be able to.
So the last one that we have is in ER&R. They have 645,000. That consists of capital machinery and equipment of 595,000 and capital software 50,000.
On the Loretta, can you walk through the software piece again?
Good question. The one thing I didn't even prepare, bear with me for a minute if I can. Mike, do you have a recollection what we were doing in ER&R for software? Oh, yeah, I bet I know what it is. So it's probably our licenses for for Geotab is part of that. And as you may recall, Geotab is an investment we made that's been fantastic in terms of addressing claims and whether or not our equipment was in the neck of the woods or not. Yeah, and then licensing for basically repair manuals, all of that type of thing for our mechanics.
So straight maintenance on that one, huh?
Yeah, I would agree with that. If it's ongoing software or licensing costs, then yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to ask why it's not already considered just maintenance. If it's software, I mean, automatically you get those renewals.
Yeah, it was included in the capital costs. And so anything that's capital, I've been having people run it by the board.
And I appreciate that, Jennifer, just so you know. I like knowing, just so we know for the next year and the next year. Capital machinery could do and equipment, break it down. Now, is this an increase over what we've done, or is these pieces that you just know that we're going to need out of it that we haven't budgeted because last year we budgeted specific items?
The 595, Mike. For ER&R. Sorry, commissioners, let me pull that. All right. Okay, so we have a capital request. So this is the F-150 that we talked about for utilities. We have the roll-off for $375 for our solid waste fund. And
How much is that, Loretta?
the roll-off $375, Jen.
Oh, okay, thank you. Sorry.
Mhm. And then 160,000 for Ottawa, the
No, I don't know where that came. We got, the Ottawa is the yard goat.
okay, all righty. So the yard goats, that, okay, we don't need that anymore. So really, we're at 425
Okay.
is what that can be reduced to.
And the software, it really isn't capital software if it's just an ongoing maintenance fee. So I'll move that to the appropriate line.
Jen, sorry, I'm correcting that. It's a Jpro diagnostic tool for so that is a one-time purchase. And then also a 1,500 gallon fuel tank to be located, an above ground tank for the Belfair shop. So my apologies, but that's what that line item is for.
Now, some of that has already been briefed with this, some of it has not, but the pieces that have not seem, though that they're going to be completely needed. So it would make sense to me to include them.
Yeah, the above ground fuel tank will definitely help in our operation efficiency. And the diagnostic tool, that's just a must have. Yep.
So can you change that number, Jennifer, to the number that she was?
So the total is then sorry, 375 for the roll-off and 50,000 for the
Correct.
Jpro. Okay.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
the truck?
Yep, that's the 50,000, Commissioner.
Okay. I thought she called it something else, Jpro or something.
Oh, so what is the Jpro diagnostic tool?
Okay, so that's what I was correct.
Yeah, that is in the capital purchase.
That's the capital software purchase.
Right, yeah, but it's not really software.
No, it's not.
No. Well, kind of.
Jpro.
It kind of is. And then if you wanted to note, Jen, the 150,000 for the fuel tank above ground fuel storage for Belfair.
Okay, so one more time, because the numbers I'm looking at are not matching up. So the roll off was 375.
Yep.
The F-150 was
50,000.
50.
Yep.
And
So
then
there's
how much-
425 there for those for equipment, basically.
And the tank?
And then the diagnostic tool. And then a 1,500 gallon tank. The two of those, I'm sorry, yeah, not 150, is 50,000 for both of those items.
Not 150?
Correct, yeah.
Okay, one more time for me. 50,000 for the tank and 50,000 for the diagnostic. Is that what you just said?
Nope, combined, 50,000 for both.
For both, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it is.
So 475.
So
Well,
and then-
they're two different bars lines, but well, in the budget I've got, I guess.
Yeah, but for us, it's still,
Yeah, 475. That's correct, Commissioner.
475.
Yep.
okay. I'm good with that being moved to maintenance, Commissioner Shooty, and
Same.
sure.
Yep.
Okay, I'll fix my note later. Okay, great. So all we have to come back with then is the the ER&R rates and figuring out the capital and then the beginning fund balance for ER&R. And then commissioners, how do you feel about rolling up Fund 429 and 480 into their respective home?
Was that was Beards Cove and the sewer?
Yeah, Beards Cove and storm drain system development.
Yeah, storm drain, sorry. I'm supportive.
I'm good with that.
Same here.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Where are you gonna roll up the storm drain to?
That would be
Roads.
into roads. It's not truly an enterprise fund.
Yeah.
So we need to fix it before SAO does.
Loretta, has that line been there from when they brought you in?
I think it was prior.
Oh, because
It
remember
was-
they brought her in on
that
grants and
grant.
stuff. Yeah, and so I wondered if they separated it out back then to keep track of that line, and it's been
I
there
thi-
ever since.
I think originally it was set up quite a bit prior to that in anticipation of creating a utility, an actual utility with rates. So this
Oh,
was
yeah.
the precursor to that.
Well, you were brought in to look at that. That was
Yep.
yeah,
Yes, indeed.
that was before my time too, guys. Just so you know, I guess afterwards.
Commissioners, what are your thoughts on adding a solid waste position? Would you like some additional detail on that?
We've been holding off until the end for that, but I definitely think we need to put that on our thing to look at the very end, because we had that conversation as a commission here recently that I think I was recommending or hoping that we would look at that so we don't have what's happening to us now continue to happen.
Yeah, 100% agree with that. I mean, we are reserving FTE decisions till the end, but I would like to see a little bit more detail on
Okay.
on an additional FTE in solid waste. And you had mentioned earlier, considering expanding hours, and I think, to get started, it's about providing predictable and stable hours, under the current situation, and then, hopefully that'll level out, and then we can have that next iteration of the conversation, which is, how do we improve accessibility in hours and that kind of thing. But definitely interested in having a little bit more detail to review as we round out the budget process.
I feel like that's another spot, another FTE that I think is essential for Mason County. I get a lot of calls wanting to know if we can stay open more hours. So definitely at the top of my list.
And
enough, I think it'll pay for itself.
Too. I mean, at this point, I would, if we're going to potentially agree to it for 2023, the need is now. I would be interested in having the conversation, for our budget supplemental here in a few weeks.
And just adding that.
Yeah, I think we're kind of at an urgent point.
Same here. I would agree with that.
Yeah, it kind of feels like we already had this conversation and we were all agreeing
we did
that position. So maybe we should just go for it. For this
So
year.
Loretta, do you think you could have that pulled together for us for a conversation on Monday?
Yep, can do. Richard's over here nodding. He's like, we've got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so we're going to add that into maintenance level then. Is that what I'm hearing? Okay. Perfect.
Then
So
Richard-
I'll come back with that. Well, after Public Works.
Did you have a question about the 9.1 on
Well,
solid waste?
Our revenues projected on what we've shown them reflect 9.1%
Okay,
increase.
okay.
And that's
Commissioners, Richard's being quiet over there. Did you hear that? That our revenue projection is based on a 9.1% increase
right.
in solid waste.
And is that how is that factoring in this extra FTE is a way to pay for that or offset some of those costs? Or
Yes, that would be part of it, but not necessarily. If we were to freeze the CPI, we would still have adequate funding to pay for that, just in sheer volume.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I want to add though, even though it looks like we have just one set of customers that would come in, that may not be accurate. We may have a lot more that we can capture because when we are closed, they take that waste to Kitsap. Up in my area, I know that.
Right.
If we can capture them, we can increase our revenues also by increasing how many people bring their stuff to our facilities. If we ever get to the point where we improve our facility in North Mason, we'll get a lot more customers.
Yeah, agreed.
So, we've had this conversation, at least in a, general way, when it came to some of our rate increases for our parks facilities and those kinds of things. And I certainly understand the pressure that people are under when it comes to these rates increasing, in particular at the rate that they are right now. And so, I'm mindful of that, but just I would, if we're freezing rates, I wouldn't want that to be a long-term proposition. And I think there's sometimes the risk that it becomes long-term because it is difficult to raise rates when times are difficult and when times are good. And so I just, that's my caution to the commission, to really think through that long-term effect.
Yeah.
I'd have to agree with that. I think lessons learned.
Right.
Mark has his hand up.
And my support would be for short term as well.
Mark, you want to go ahead?
So I just want to caution us against freezing rates. We are seeing increases in our operating costs associated with the inflation pressures that are impacting our citizens. I think that when we freeze in a time like we are at right now, you may be just pushing a problem forward. And then you get to a point where now all of a sudden we're out 2-3 years. We've continued to see inflationary pressures that impact our operating costs. And now we're having to do huge increases just to cover our costs. So I would definitely recommend against freezing rates, but I do think that we could discuss maybe creating a maximum amount that we're comfortable going up, and then potentially even a minimum amount. So in times where inflationary pressures are not above 2%, maybe we keep a floor of 2% and a ceiling of 6%. And I'm just throwing numbers out there, but my concern, and I think that we've seen this before. I mean, I think that we see it up in Belfair now, where we've rose rates for a long time. And now when we're looking at how do we actually right the ship as we move forward, it's something that's difficult to do within 1 year. So my own personal opinion is I would definitely recommend against having zero.
Well, just to be clear, when I'm talking freezing rates, I'm not talking zero for myself. I'm talking about, freezing at the levels that we've been, percentages that we have without the impact that we're seeing as a temporary thing only in order to help them during this tough time. Our tough times, when I say our tough times, I've seen by looking at our past numbers, we have a 2 to 3 year window that these things have an effect on the community. So anything we're doing should be looked at yearly with the expectations that it's brought to back to full regular process within 2 or 3 years. That's what I'm talking about. I'm definitely not talking about freezing the cost at what it is today. I meant perhaps our rate that, let's say we had a 3% increase last year, freezing it at a 3% increase this year. That's what I'm speaking of.
So I think that I should sit down with Loretta and team and talk about how we may have to change some of our code and how it's currently written within the code in terms of rate increases, because I think it's all tied to CPI right now. And I don't believe that there's an option for us to do anything different than that.
That's absolutely correct.
It may require us to make some changes. And when we make those changes, maybe we incorporate some of the things that Commissioner Netherland just referred to.
Well, that's things that the community's asked for quite a while too. But I just want to make clear that was just what Commissioner Nether was saying, not what the commission just said. I do not want to get that confused.
Rate adjustments.
I'm curious to hear what, when we have this discussion fully, I'm curious to hear what the other commissioners are thinking as well.
I'd like to see the numbers before.
Yeah.
Yeah, and commissioners were only raising that because I know there have been conversations about other CPIs, as you say, and we're sitting okay on our utility budgets. So just simply wanted to raise that as a possibility. And we'll bring forward some numbers for you to take a look at.
Numbers are good.
Numbers are good. Mark and Jen will keep us straight. All right. And then other than that, commissioners, the only other item, I know we've got this outstanding issue for ER&R in roads, but I also wanted to highlight that long-term, again, taking Mark's look at Russellwood, for example, if I could share the screen real quick, Jen, again.
I'll stop the share.
Thank you. Oops, now if I can find it. Too many things up here. Okay. So on this second page, commissioners, if you look at the long-term item here, if we're looking at 21 and our actual revenues, excluding fund balances and our construction program, we had around $12 million in revenue. On the expenditure side, salaries and benefits, our operating materials and supplies, our indirect allocations, the basic expenditures, we were at 12.3 million. So we were at an imbalance there. And looking ahead, we've got quite a bit, and that's no construction. Typically, we're using approximately $2 million of revenue to leverage a $16 or so million construction program. And if you're looking then at the including construction, to that tune, we're about $2.5 million out of balance. So long term, we need to start thinking about whether we're adjusting revenue, whether we're reducing our operating expenditures, whether we're cutting our construction program back a little bit, or some combination thereof, and certainly want to have conversations with commissioners about what's the right mix here. And we obviously don't have time this morning to get into that, but just want to plant that seed and ask of commissioners what would be helpful for you to have information-wise to start that discussion and decision-making about balancing long-term.
So I think my initial reaction is that there's probably a blend of things from your options that make sense. And I think a good place for us to start, maybe this year, we really haven't had the levy shift or diversion conversation yet, but I think a good place to start would be evaluating that. And we're doing that against kind of what we're expecting for our position in the current expense side, but I would be open to a reduction of either the diversion or the lift or the levy shift as a way to get this started, and then evaluate the other options as well.
Yeah, I would agree. I'd like to take a deeper dive into those. I think those are two options that Jen brought up earlier also.
And I agree. At the same time, though, I think I may be seeing it a little different and am more interested in the outcome for the year to determine a reality, a number based on actual compared to numbers based on conceptual. So
Commissioner, understanding how we actually end up on fund balance in 22.
because
Yeah,
I've been through this for a long time. We've seen this same type of thing over and over again, but the end turns out to be a little different. And so we'll see how, I'd like to see what it looks like, but that's not taken away from the other discussion the other two commissioners had, because I've been there for a long time. So I want to make it clear, I'm definitely interested in seeing what we can do. We have the funds to move some of that back into our camp and allow roads to continue to, but I'd like to see them do construction or something with these dollars as we put it back in. But
I think the other tie on to that comment, Commissioner Netherland, is really looking at our new roads reserve there, and it's great to have that, but I think the intent is that we actually do something with it, and so we're holding this money back year after year. And is there a way to use that to leverage for construction projects? Is there a way to use that to actually go after, constructing new roads or making road improvements? Is there a way to utilize that along with the traffic mitigation fees that we've implemented in Belfair and so on and so forth? And I think what's been lacking, has been a conversation between the commission on how we want to use that fund. What is it there for? It's not there to collect dust or interest, I guess, but really putting that to work in the community with some of our priorities.
I could not agree more. If anything, that's something I've been pushing from the beginning. We first allocated those funds. There were specific things to go to, but we have to wait until roads tells us we can do it. And I've been sad that we haven't been bringing those forward as fast as I would like. I mentioned Razor Road earlier. The impact that could have on the community and for monies coming into this county is huge. But up until now, we haven't had the program to bring forward. There was also Romance Hill connector. We're starting to get some of that information now, but this should, in my opinion, should have been done years ago. It could have saved us a lot of different hassles and things been built and put into the plan originally. Then there was also originally $1 million in there for the Gateway project into Shelton. And as far as I'm concerned, when we all agreed to do that, I know that different commissioners have different things. That's where it was supposed to go. And I'd like to see us help with that project because it would benefit everybody. So, but it comes down to doing it. As you said, we can keep talking about it and it can sit and hold in dust, but I'd sure love to go to actually creating new roads that we thought were beneficial.
Taking a drive over Razor Road was
You went on Razor Road?
Yeah, I did.
oh, yes.
It was an adventure, let's just put it that way.
You're a lot shorter than I, but how many times did your head hit the top of the cab?
I'm not as tall as you, and the cab's pretty far above my head. So, but yeah, it was an adventure.
Yeah.
All right. So for a future briefing, commissioners, we will also bring forward options for how to expend the $4.5 million.
And I think that to add to that, Loretta, the whole purpose of implementing the mitigation fees is to accumulate money to deal with additional pressures that impact our communities based on more people coming in there.
Yep.
So, there's some planning that we can do with Log Yard. There's some planning that we can do with Romance Hill. How does that interrelate with the freight corridor that the state has planned? Also, arterial roads within the east side of Belfair, I think, is something, as well as Razor Road area. There's a number of different projects that Loretta has kind of discussed with me. I think starting to put some of those things on paper so that the commissioners can evaluate what they look like, what those costs may be. That's one potential use of these reserves that we've set aside. I think that the bigger discussion, or just as important, is what does the balance look like as we move forward? And are we limiting potentially some of our opportunities for infrastructure money that may be coming down through the feds when we don't have enough money to capture the match associated with those programs? Now, roads and transportation has done an amazing job. The employees out there have done an amazing job of maximizing the work that our staff does that's legally allowable. But that doesn't put a limit on the projects that we can do. We can contract out for a lot of those things, and being able to capture some of those funds to do some projects that we definitely need to do. Would love to see us maximize those opportunities.
Agreed. All right, commissioners, that is all I have.
Thank
Okay,
you.
great. Anything else for Loretta and staff, commissioners?
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, Jennifer.
Okay, so I'm going to go back to my consolidated budget spreadsheet here. And I'm going to go back to the general fund. So I added in columns from last week's approved PLRs. So these are the amounts that we have approved over here in this column AG. And then commissioners, you had asked for the one-time costs, I believe. So I added those in. We only have two. There's that I could recognize as one-time, potentially one-time costs. The Cabot, assuming, you know, if we stopped using Cabot, which I'm not sure if what the intent is, but anyway, I added that 20,954 in as a potential one-time cost, and then the NeoGov $30,000 in as a potential one-time cost. So everything else looks to be like a revolving cost to me. So
with that said, though, I'd like the commissioners to consider some of these things that we're doing that maybe they're not supposed to be long-term. For example, we're talking extra help. Should that extra help be just put into a budget as a 1 year to deal with the things that are in front of them for that year? Or is it an expansion of their actual long-term budget?
No, I agree with that. I mean, that's so, I think the only place that we have done that so far has been in the auditor's office. Is that correct for the elections? Have we added any other extra help?
we also added $8,000 to the coroner's office for extra.
Oh, right, okay.
And we also had some today, didn't we?
Yeah, DCD.
Yeah, DCD.
DCD is through ARPA. So yeah, that's definitely recognized as a temporary.
Any of those things I think that are temporary is what I'm trying to show on that line for myself, so I can keep track of money that we are expending that is based on money coming in versus money that we have either in reserve or unencumbered dollars.
Okay, well, I can move those into that temporary line.
Because that's what I'm doing with it in my head, just so you know.
Okay, the ARPA, I'm not showing that as a PLR, so I'll have to move things around in order to show what's included in maintenance level that wasn't in the policy level. So
yeah, but barcode printer, for example, is a good one. Certain trackable tools, those are not going to be coming back for that specific trackable tool.
I left those in because I thought, well, you know, maybe they have $3,000 worth that breaks this year that needs replacing. You know, that's kind of, it's kind of a revolving cost. There's always going to be something that's breaking and needing replacing, right? Or not.
Agreed, but the things we're looking at on these lists are the things that we're paying for this year. And those tools are being paid for as a one-time expenditure this year, not coming back on the budget as a one-time expenditure next year. Those are the things I'd like to see as one time. I don't think that I think travel is something that is, you know, travel or training. I think that needs to eventually be built into our structure. But we don't have a specific amount for trackable tools. We don't have that's all stuff that is done yearly. And you don't have to do it right now. I'm just telling you that's what I'm looking for in that line. Okay. It's for all the things that are not employee or employee related, but instead for one-time expenditures like barcode scanners and
okay.
Phones.
I mean, like Parks has $5,000 worth of trackables that was approved, trackable like weed eaters and brush cutters and, you know, things like that. They're most likely going to need that every year.
But we don't have a line that continues every year. See what I'm saying? If it's a line that continues every year, that we're going to have something specific, a specific amount that will transfer over to next year. We'll start at 5,000 and we're looking to maybe increase that or so the next year. That's different. But if it's something that is a request for this year only, that's what I would like to see for, and that's just for me. I don't know how the other commissioners look at it. That's why I had asked for that line. So I can see all the different things that we're just purchasing now.
Okay. Yeah, and things like, I mean, we approved 35,000 for the sheriff department to replace computers in their cars for 10 cars and 2 spares. And so you want that included in that?
Yes, I see that as a one-time expenditure because we don't have a line that is specifically for that we're increasing or decreasing.
Okay.
And then Commissioner, do you want that added to the notes so that we can kind of make sure that we're remembering what we did there?
Yeah, that would work for me. It's just trying to just keep track of the dollars. But if you add it to the notes, it don't hurt my feelings because it helped to remind me. But just looking down the line, I see so many different.
Okay, so so far we've approved 295,961. This 50,954 that I'll update. That is included in this 295,961 PLR number, and the open PLRs at this time are 1,574,731. So if it's been approved here, I took it out of the PLR request here. So I can change that as well if that's, you know, if you want me to have the total PLRs and then the amount that was approved, whatever your preference is.
Don't you have the total PLRs already on a different document? So I don't think that we need to be redundant and put it on this one. I like having the running total that you have here showing what the remaining request.
Okay, that's the way I like to see it too, but you know, I wasn't sure, so I took a stab. So yeah, I'll keep it this way then, if that's okay with you, commissioners.
That's good for me.
Same.
Jen, just to confirm, the stuff that I'm seeing in the PLR column, predominantly is that related to positions that were requested? The board has kind of put off to the side and we're going to reevaluate later?
The departments that we have already went over their PLR requests, yes, most of them just have their positions left. We have the auditor's office, which I'll move that 1140. We have the HR analyst request. We have not gone over district court yet. The coroner has an FTE request. We have the sheriff's office. They have their four deputies and 4 vehicles. I added those in. And then the overtime, 165,000. The animal shelter program, $169,900, and the BHO contract of $80,000. And then Office of Public Defense, we haven't went over their budget yet, but they have $194,000 in increased contract costs. So not all of this is just FTEs.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And so far, looking at this budget, we have the beginning fund balance that I estimated at 23 million. We have the revenues estimated coming in at 43,542,011. We have the salaries and benefits, 31,058,574, and that doesn't include that $8,000 increase to the coroner's office from last week. We have total operating expenditures of 14,254,639, and any of the PLRs that were approved last week are included in that number now. And then we have the ending fund balance estimated now at 21,228,798, which brings us to a balanced proposed budget at $66,542,011. And I wanted to go over the fund balance estimate with you. So I'll do a new share. So when I estimated the beginning fund balance back in beginning of July is when this was done, our cash was 26,630,105. We had remaining remaining revenues estimated at 18,596,462, and that does include an estimated 2,091,828 in unanticipated revenue coming in over our budgeted amount. And then estimated remaining expenditures from July through December at 22,226,567, which includes 2.4 million in unexpended budget authority coming back into cash, or unexpended cash. So that is how I got to the estimated beginning fund balance of approximately 23 million. And then here's a breakdown of our reserve accounts at the time. So looking at last year's estimate, we had estimated at September 30th, we had $20,010,006 in actual cash. Our unanticipated revenue was actually 3.314 million. And then our unexpended budget authority was actually 4.533 million. And so that brings us to our actual 2021 beginning fund balance was 21,694,824. And I had estimated 21,500,000. And so that was pretty darn close last year. And so looking at comparing this year, we're at 25,415,242 cash at September 30th. If we estimate that we're going to have $4 million in unanticipated revenue, which I think is probable, then we have about 7,931,000 remaining estimated revenue coming in. And then looking at our expenditures, if we have $5 million in unexpended budget authority, which I think is, again, very probable. Looking at last year, we had 4.5. I believe we're going to have a little bit more than that, most likely. then we would have about 14,800,000 remaining expenditures, which would bring us to an estimated 2023 beginning fund balance of close to 24 million, so 23,865. So I don't think that the 23 million is too far off. I think that these numbers are maybe again a little bit conservative, but not too much. And I would rather estimate under than over. So I haven't talked to Mark about this yet, so we can definitely have some discussion before we make any final decisions on the estimated 2023 beginning fund balance. But I just wanted to run this by you, commissioners.
I appreciate that. Can you send me a copy of this?
Sure.
Please? Because I have been questioning this quite a bit. I'm seeing where you're at and what you're doing, and I appreciate it. But if I have it in my hand, it's always better for me.
Yeah, and so I mean, again, this isn't extremely scientific. I'm not running through and going through each department, and we still have our big end of the year amendment to do also. So I'll send this to all of you, commissioners.
Thank you.
And Mark.
Jennifer, where on here would we see the capital reserve that we created?
I need to add that in.
Okay.
I'll do that before I send it to you. The other follow-up items that we had from last week. So the 0.09 funds, we have obligated to the city of Shelton. I emailed you that this morning. That is for the sewer. So I just wanted to clarify that, and we pay that off, I believe, in 2026, our obligation for that. The other question about the Office 365, I did double check with IT, and the amount, if we wanted to get that going now before next year, the approximate cost is about 66,000 for this year to get that rolling. That would cover 392 users. There's another 50 plus users over in DCD and maybe health. Anyway, that already have Office 365. So they would not need to be included in that number. So the 392 is what's remaining. So yeah, that's an approximate 66,000. So if you would like, commissioners, we can add that. We do have the cash in that fund this year that would roll over or would have rolled over into 2023. And the dollar amount for Office 365 is included in the rate. So we would recover that cash in next year's rate. So that's definitely an option if you want to go ahead with that.
You know,
I would love for us to go ahead with that.
Yeah, I would agree. If TJ and Ben are good, and we can swing it now, I'm comfortable with that.
Great. We will get that moving then. And then the Sheriff's Office sent in their ARPA prioritization list. So I emailed that to you, and that I wanted to ask if you wanted that as part of the PLR requests.
That's fine with me.
Yep, me too.
Just for the commission's own, I guess, knowledge, I would be supportive of funding the first two items on there, which was the pistol and then patrol rifle replacement.
Oh, I'm a little confused there because I thought many of them were purchasing their own pistols. That's the only thing I had a question of.
Did you get a response from the sheriff's office on that, or?
I didn't ask.
Oh, okay.
I'm just was thinking that myself, because I'm in agreement with you, but then as I'm thinking through it in my head, I just remembered there was a difference. Mark, could you look into that for us? But if not, then I'm the same.
Okay.
I would agree.
I think if we purchase them, then yes.
And there are some ARPA funds available if we're not putting 125,000 towards the city project that was originally on the list. There's somewhere between 125 and 155,000 left in ARPA funds right now. That would be an option.
That would not hurt my feelings.
So just to add a little bit more detail to what Jen just said, I actually had an opportunity to talk to Jeff Knighton about the 125,000 that we had kind of earmarked for the Shelton Springs Road. And he said that they would not be able to utilize that $125,000 within the timeframes that we have, and that it wouldn't really help with them getting that project complete. So the 125 definitely can come back into our mix to determine how we want to move forward with that and where we'd like to allocate it.
So if that's the case, I'd like to move forward with the equipment for the deputies if everything works out.
So the other caveat to that is, and I mentioned this to Mark yesterday, and I'm mentioning it now again to the commission, but that might also be an option for the community lifeline discussion that we had yesterday. And so if the commission wants to consider that, just giving Mark and team a chance to run down that conversation with community lifeline, get us a little bit more detail, and then we can make a decision maybe.
I believe I have a meeting scheduled with Dave and Melissa and them next week, next Tuesday. I've also posed that question to, because part of the question was, is the city of Shelton willing to contribute any of that needed matching funds in order for Community Lifeline to acquire the grant? And I've not heard back on that question from Jeff. Personally,
I think that should be shared. I can't see how it wouldn't or shouldn't be, but I also again, I'm supportive if we know that there's benchmarks that show that there's more than just a handout, but a handout. Yep. So I definitely have the commissioners from individual conversations with the commissioners. I have kind of your expectations of information that we need to gather in that discussion with Community Lifeline as well as the city. So hopefully I can come back to you soon after that and give you an update. Another question you might want to ask the city is if they even want it, because that may be a holdback from them if they have not stepped forward with financial help. Is there a reason why? Do they even want Community Lifeline? No. Do they even want an expansion of those programs and stuff? I'm stepping way out in front of my skis. I don't want to talk on their behalf. I've just heard certain things from them.
And I think the city is still in the process of deciding where they want to go after we finished our last homelessness task force meeting. Yeah. And so the city still hasn't decided which direction they want to go. So it might be prudent to wait for a bit on that.
I was gonna say, I always prefer to give deference to those that it's their territory. And I think this may be quite a bit their territory more than ours because of the location. So I'd like to hear from them.
Okay, so we will come back to the pistols and rifles until we hear about the Community Lifeline and decide from there.
And if they purchase their own pistols. I have that question documented. Yeah.
Okay, great. So the other thing is I still need to add the amounts for the closed contracts, the contracts that are settled into our salary and benefit numbers. So I just wanted to disclaim that. So I will try to do that for next week's budget presentation.
Okay. Do you have a general idea? I don't need it now. Never mind. I'll wait for next week's budget.
Okay. And then the other thing that came up was the REIT 1 and 2, how much remaining obligations we have. We have in REIT 1 about 1.281 million for the jail remaining that we're going to pay off in 2033. So I did talk to Lisa Frazier this morning about any debt, and she's going to look into any debt obligations that we can possibly retire early or put money towards as an option. But she did not think that the jail bond, that we could pay that off early. She thought, or right now, she thought that would not be an option due to the type of bonds. So, but she'll get back to us. She just thought that off the top of her head, which was great to get that information. But as far as any other REIT 1 and REIT 2 obligations, I will send those to you, commissioners.
I would also like, if you don't mind, can you also throw in the 09, because I'm looking at the ending fund balances on that. I know you looked through us the information regarding the Shelton sewer. I'd just like to see if there's any other stuff.
Yeah, I'll put that in an email. I mean, we have the $450,000 that we obligate to Belfair Sewer every year.
And has it been paid out yet? Will be one of my questions.
I believe that was paid out this year, but I'll take a look at that.
Okay.
And then the other thing out of 0.09, I think those are the only two things out of 0.09.
And could you check if both of them have been paid out already, or if anything has been paid out?
So for 0.09, I did not. I'll double check on that. Oh, and then we have the EDC, the 90,000.
And they may be asking for some additional funds.
Sorry, what was that, Mark?
Did the EDC say that they're going to be asking for some additional funds?
They had said that originally and said that they needed to go back and figure out their request and come back. I believe she said early next year is when she was going to come back with that. But I can reach out again and make sure.
6:30.
The City of Shelton obligation is definitely not paid out of 0.09 at this point for 2022. That usually happens in December.
Okay.
And the 450,000 for Belfair. Yeah, I'll look at that. I don't remember off the top of my head.
Being early money is the mother's milk of everything. Would it be beneficial, because it doesn't make any difference to us, and we have the numbers, we have the money in our funds. Shouldn't we cover this one in December, then maybe consider covering January for the 2023 year? Just get them that money is up front, and then we also have it paid off early for future next year's budget discussions and the like. If it's already covered, because it won't make any difference for us, right? If we pay them in January or wait till December.
Yeah, I don't think it makes any difference.
From a budget perspective, it would, right? Like in terms of when the budget is approved to be spent.
Yeah, but if it's approved and if our budget is approved in December and we pay them out in January, it doesn't have any effect on our budget. The only effect it'll have is show a different number for expenses at a percentage compared to the year before. But
yeah, we're not obligated to pay it in any certain month.
Yeah.
Between January and December. Yeah.
It makes sense for them to have the money early so they can do more with it. But for us, it just means is we're keeping track of the budget throughout the year. And we're looking at, because now we have Jennifer that's putting together this incredible spreadsheet that I'm still looking at here from this month's September's financials. I can keep track of everything going on. It's nice to know what the actual numbers are and what still has not been expended out of it. So the benefit would be huge as I'm looking at 2.1 million in cash, knowing that all the expenditures have been out of it, that there's 2.1 million in cash. And it benefits the city. So just something to consider instead of waiting until December, the end of December.
Yeah, I'll check with them and make sure that they want it early.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't see why they wouldn't, but you never know.
One of the things that I'd like to look at just for discussion purposes is, especially when we make large payments, because we're talking about the sewer payment, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so especially when we make large payments, sometimes if we can, by keeping them, so that we wouldn't do like 2 in 1 year, and that's not what we're proposing to do here, correct? Okay, okay, never mind that.
No, currently the 2022 is scheduled for payment in December. It would make more sense for us than for looking at keeping track of our money in the future if we scheduled our payment in January for the next year instead of December. So all through the year, we know what the real numbers are because it's already paid for. It's not a debt that's hanging out there. And they get the money early, which is beneficial to them. It just seems like a win-win to me. But it doesn't have to. If we don't do it, we don't do it. But
Okay, and then we're going to consolidate funds 429 and 480. We already talked about that. And then the last thing that I have the revenue and expenditure summaries for the last 5-year actuals. So here's revenue and then adopted budget and proposed budget as of today for 2023. So there's the revenue and then the expenditures. And I have not put this into any type of graph format, but I can do that and send this to you as part of this whole budget presentation package, commissioners.
so we're looking at those earlier budget numbers on the sheriff's department. Is that including the diversion and levy shift? Back on your, it was back on your other sheet. I'm sorry.
On this sheet?
Yeah, I love that sheet. Just looking at those, are any of those numbers, did we separate out the traffic as a special fund or anything else like that? Or is that included in these numbers?
So this is the expenditures for the sheriff's department.
Yes.
They do track their diversion, or I'm sorry, it's not diversion. They track their traffic policing expenditures separately. And then those get funded through revenue that comes through the treasurer's office. So it is completely separate transactions. You know, one's a resource, one's a use.
Yeah.
They're completely.
But we're not rolling them up in the end. For example, go back up to the sheriff's, the budget one that you had. Yeah, I guess that's one. So looking at their proposed budget, the current adopted budget for 2022, is that not including the million?
So they have about I want to say 2.3.
2.16.
They have more than that budgeted in traffic to, because they had planned on spending that much on traffic. And then the diversion, when it comes in, is actually $1,080,000. And then we did a levy shift for $1,080,000, and that all comes into the treasurer's revenue. So the traffic expenditure is budgeted at about 2.3 to 2.5, somewhere in that ballpark. And then the actual revenue coming in is between the levy shift, $1,080,000, and the diversion of $1,080,000 comes to that 2.16 million number. And they have a percentage that they have their patrol deputies. A portion of their time is charged to traffic and a portion is charged to patrol. And then they have dedicated traffic employees where a higher portion is dedicated to traffic and then a lower portion is dedicated to patrol. So so that's why it doesn't come out to that perfect 2.16 million number.
And I'm good with that. I guess what I'm asking is that we're using the sheriff's budget for an example. What is the total budget for the sheriff's department, including everything, including their boating fund and the like, not just general fund? What is their total budget for the year? So
their total budget, including boating fund, that's a totally separate fund. So they have 15,417,039 is their total expenditures, including most of it's of course their salaries and benefits of 11,933,157, and then they're operating 3,483,882, and you can see the increased percentages over here, 2.84% in salaries and benefits, mainly due to contract increases, and then operating 4.74% at this time. And then if we go over to the special funds.
Jennifer, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, just can I interrupt for a second? Commissioners, I have to log off. I have to get going to another obligation, but feel free to continue the conversation. I'll pick up with Jennifer and Mark.
Well, I think I don't need to have this now. I can find it out off the line. I don't want to interfere with that. We should do all this together when it's budget. So I'm good with closing out.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean,
No, I don't mind. I'm
either
seriously.
way.
I think it's good when we're all here for budget, because even the information I pick up, I'd like for you to hear, just like you'd like me to hear yours. So I'm good with moving to another day. We're going to come back and yeah. So.
Okay. Okay. All right. Yeah. Sorry about that. We're just running longer than anticipated. Okay. Any final comments, commissioners or Jennifer?
No, good process.
Thank you. No, I'll come back with those couple of items that we talked about, go over the ER&R rates, and I can't guarantee that I'll have that ready for tomorrow, probably next week.
Great.
Sounds
Okay.
good.
All right. With that, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn until
We adjourn.
Second.
Moving to second that we adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
All right.
Aye. All those opposed, motion carries. See everybody tomorrow afternoon.
All right.